G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's stories. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user, Am I the Asshole Wedding Lashes, titled, Am I the Asshole for not paying for my friend's eyelash extensions for her wedding? Obligatory throwaway account. My 26 female, best friend, 25 female, I'll call her Callie, is getting married in a week, and I'm one of her bridesmaids, while our other best friend, 26 female, I'll call her Sam, is the maid of honor. They are my best friends and have been through literally everything in my life with me. I can't say Callie has been a bridezilla by any means, but she does have a very specific look in mind for her special day. I was told that I needed to strip all the color out of my hair. It was blue and is now a chestnut brown, and had to get new foundation to cover up my tattoos, as well as shapewear. I did all of this because it's her day, and it's not hard to re-dye my hair after, or put foundation on my tattoos. The actual problem happened yesterday. Callie made an appointment for her, Sam, and I to get eyelash extensions because it will make the day easier, less makeup to worry about, and we all suck at putting on falsies. Callie had asked all of the bridal party if we wanted to go, and only Sam and I said yes. To put it frankly, all of Callie's savings and money is going into the wedding, so she's currently low on funds to an extent, and Sam has never exactly been good at saving money. Meanwhile, I'm decent enough that I have some savings set aside and a low budget specifically for this wedding. I figured Callie had put aside money for these extensions and didn't think about it past my money. As we were checking out with our lash girl, I paid for mine and Sam paid for hers, but Callie just stood there looking at me. I asked her what was up, and she just said that she was waiting for me. I asked what she meant, and that we should hurry because we had a lunch thing to get to. She said she couldn't pay for her lashes, and that she thought I knew I would be paying for them. I said that I was not aware, and that I should have been told beforehand because I couldn't afford sets of $200 lashes. She said she assumed I would just know because of how much money has already gone into the wedding, and Sam obviously couldn't pay for it. I said I would not be doing that because I simply couldn't afford it. If this had taken place before next week, it would have been more likely, but I can't now. She started raising her voice and dug out her wallet and paid with her credit card. Sam pulled me aside and said that it was shitty of me to not just pay, and that I knew what this wedding meant to Callie. I said if it meant that much, why didn't Sam just pay then? I was told by the both of them that maybe it was best if I just didn't go to lunch and that they would talk to me in a couple of days. I know that this wedding means a lot to Callie. She has always wanted to be married, but I don't think it's fair of her to assume that I would pay for the extensions just because she has stretched her budget thin. However, if I am in the wrong, I will find a way to make up for this, pay her back or something. So Reddit, am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I refuse to pay for my friend's wedding eyelashes, and 2. Refusing to pay for the lashes knowing that my friend might not have the funds to do it herself. And you know what they say about assumptions, they make an ass out of you and me. But yeah, it's quite obvious that this bride and her little flying monkey of a friend are being petty and manipulative to you. They didn't discuss this beforehand. They thought they could just strong-arm you into it after the deed is done. They knew that talking about it beforehand, you'd say absolutely not. So if they just spring it on you, and guilt you, and gang up on you, you're forced to say yes. That's inherently wrong. Screw those guys for doing that to you. You're not the asshole for standing your ground. In the comments, a piece of 8 says, not the asshole. No one informed you about it in advance, and even if they had, it's not on you to pay for the bride's hair and makeup type things. Traditionally, the bride pays for that sort of thing for the bride's maids. It's not your fault she's spending more than she would like. OP replies, she for sure had not asked prior. She paid for my dress and shoes, but that's it. Not the asshole. People who demand you change your appearance and who feel entitled to your money, especially without discussion, aren't your friends. Friends respect each other. Want proof she's not your friend? Tell your friend that you will not be paying any more money than has already been agreed upon. No more. Then see if she says, okay, just glad to have you there on my special day. You've already spent so much. Or will she say, you're ruining my special day, and lay a guilt trip about how you're a bad friend? OP replies, I didn't mind changing my hair, it's just hair in my opinion, and I already have an appointment set up for October to go get it redone and my tattoos. It's just foundation, but this just seemed ridiculous to me and for Sam to also think it's fine. Well, on the other hand, it's very sweet of you not to mind the appearance changes, but I think the money issue is an extension of it. Your friend seems to have learned that she can push and you'll take it. Until now, you've assumed she would be fine with no as an answer. You are now learning that she feels entitled to your appearance and money. By my count, there have been half a dozen red flags so far. Hair change, tattoo cover-up, assuming you'll pay for her lashes without discussion, assuming you'll pay for other friends' lashes, thinking, I don't have money is a replacement for, please can you do this, and getting mad when you said no. You should really tell her the ATM is closed and find out how she really feels about you before the wedding day, or you'll somehow get forced into paying for her DJ or something. Not the asshole. If she wanted you to pay for something that expensive, she should have told you in advance. You are not an ATM. OP replies, I think that's a lot of the problem for me. If she had asked prior to, I might have at least thought about it, but springing it on me, in front of the lash girl who is a personal friend of mine, just seemed like a weird request. Plus, she invited me to go out and get these done. Update. Hi all. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my original post and got me to finally open my eyes to how my friends had been treating me. I took a couple of days after posting to think of how I wanted to proceed, and then I took a chance and texted Callie and Sam asking if we could meet up. They agreed, and we went to a coffee shop. As soon as I got there, they were both there and were whispering about something, and as soon as they saw me, they stopped. In that moment, I realized that's how they've always been, joined at the hip, whispering together, and stopping when I walk in, never taking me seriously, and it was just like a switch flipped in that moment. I stopped caring. After getting my coffee, I sat down and we kind of just stared at each other before I finally asked if either of them felt bad about how they treated me. They both seemed surprised and asked how I got to that conclusion. I said that I had had time to think it over, and while I felt bad that Callie had been having to dip into her emergency fund, that was not my fault nor my problem. If anybody's, it was Sam's because she was maid of honor. I said that I had been more than accommodating, changing my hair, getting a specific foundation to cover my tattoos, getting shapewear when it makes me uncomfortable, all of it to make her day amazing. They tried to interject, but I just shook my head. I told them that they had been my best friends for a very long time, but probably too long. I went on to list a bunch of times they had made me feel like shit, which I won't bother you with here, but I ended up saying I wouldn't be attending the wedding in any capacity, and Ali could pick up the shoes, the dress, the shapewear, and the foundation from my mum's house because I was done. They started panicking and tried apologizing, but I just got up and asked them to please not talk to me for the foreseeable future, and left. They both tried to call and text me for days afterwards, but I ignored it. I also got a bunch of texts from the other bridesmaids who clearly had not been given the full story and texted all 4 of the others with the full story. I didn't hear anything back, but got a bunch of calls and voicemails from Callie, and let's just say they were not nice. I finally texted her and told her that her attitude towards all of this just proved my point and that I didn't think we could be friends anymore. I guess the wedding went on as planned, which I guess I'm glad for. And to everyone who was upset about me changing my hair, I'm happy to inform you it is now neon pink. I think that's it. I'll be moving states with my boyfriend in about a month, and I'll be cutting contact with Sam as well. So I don't expect anything else to come of any of this. Thank you to every single one of you, and I hope the update is what most of you wanted. It's definitely not what I expected, but it is what I think needed to happen. In the comments, FuzzyMum2005 says, not the asshole. Sometimes you just know, and you just knew. Good for you for making Callie pick up the stuff. Did she? Good luck with the move. OP replies, yeah, she did the day before the wedding, so I'm guessing she didn't find anyone to fill the spot. She also threw a huge fit at my mum's trying to get her on her side, but my mum refused to put up with it. Do you know how you seem in this update? Strong, really, really strong. Sometimes incredible growth just comes from being tread on one too many times. But that's okay because you're strong now. Good luck with your move. OP replies, I'm gonna cry. Thank you. It's hard, and I'm still coming to terms with everything, but I feel strong, for once in 12 to 17 years of friendship. The move is scary, but I hope it'll be a good thing. Physical distance, like moving out of state, can be an amazing natural separation. The distance will make it so much easier to step away from these relationships. You won't have to worry about seeing them when you're out and about in your daily life. It'll be very freeing, speaking from experience. It may take a while to make new friends in your new home state, and that may feel lonely. It's taken me almost 2 years. But don't internalize it. Just keep your sweet, positive self out front, and good people will find you. Best of luck. Were they using you for money the whole relationship? And OP says, looking back now, I realize they had me paying for a lot of things. I paid for lunches, I paid for gas, I paid for coffees. I got them really nice, in my opinion I guess, gifts for holidays and birthdays, and they'd get me things that you'd find in like souvenir shops, is how I'd describe it. Yes, I paid for a lot of things. A lot more than I probably should have. What did your mum think of these friends? OP says, she was indifferent for a while. I didn't tell her a lot of things that happened in high school because I didn't see it as toxic, and I didn't actually tell her what happened with the eyelashes until I dropped off the dress and stuff a few days after the coffee shop. She got a little mad at me for not having a backbone, but then she let me cry on her couch with a tub of ice cream and mac and cheese. Then she let me know that she was never a huge fan of these girls because she didn't like how they criticized my hair, my clothes, my bedroom, all of which I never knew she had heard until now, but decided that I was a big girl, and if it didn't bother me, it wouldn't bother her. Your boyfriend must be happy that you kicked them to the curb. And OP says, oh, he was for sure. When this all originally went down, he told me he didn't like any of it, but that he couldn't tell me what to do, and if I felt this was just a misstep from them, he would believe me. But now that it's all over, he definitely let me know exactly how he felt about them for the last 4 years. While I wish he could have felt like he could tell me a while ago, I appreciate his faith in me to know when enough is enough. And I say Godspeed to you, OP. This is another great example of someone having a backbone, and I am absolutely here for it. Thank God you realized just how much they were taking advantage of you, and insane to me that so many people had this crazy negative opinion of these two. I do kind of wonder where the line is with leaving you to your own devices, but also pointing out shitty behaviors in shitty people that could be adversely affecting you. I guess that's something for me to think about and you to just forget about because they're no longer in your life. All in all, I'm very much happy for you, and I hope the move with your boyfriend goes very well, OP. Our next post is by user QuirkyBad7653, titled, Am I the asshole for lying to my partner about having kids and laughing about it? So I recently became engaged to my 34 female, partner 35 male. We met on a dating app 3 years ago, and we hit it off from the start. 5 years ago, I got my fallopian tubes removed. I've known I don't want to give birth since I was 15 years old, and have never changed my mind. I always said that if a child came into my life, I would love it, but I'm not actively seeking that out. On my dating profile, it explicitly states, child-free and infertile, verbatim. At the beginning of our relationship, my now fiancé regularly referenced other things that I put in my profile, so I had assumed he'd read that part, and kids never really came up in other conversations. Well, last night, he mentioned that I should consider stopping my birth control since now we're engaged, and given our ages, we should start trying for kids. I honestly thought he was joking, and I laughed. He got frustrated and asked me why I thought it was funny, and I reminded him that the second line of my dating profile said I was ostensibly infertile. He was shocked and called me a liar. I happened to remember that I sent a screenshot of my dating profile to a friend for review around that time and pulled up the old convo with her to show him the time and date, and that indeed, it stated that I was child-free. I told him that I had my tubes taken out, so there was no chance of me getting pregnant without outside help. IVF is technically still an option, but I don't want to put my body through that. He stormed out, and his mum called me crying that I've ruined his life. His sister sent me a long message about how getting my tubes removed should be illegal and how I'm a monster for stringing my fiancé along. To be honest, his family never really liked me because they think I'm beneath him. A cousin told me it's because I'm fat. True, but I'm also pretty active. Regular walks with my dog, hiking, biking, swimming, paddleboarding, and a little snowshoeing, none of which my fiancé does with me, and am a career woman in a male-dominated field, plus we share the household labor 50-50, and I make more money than he does. Because of this, I don't take what they say too seriously, but I'm starting to feel bad. His family believes I stole years of his life and ruined future chances of being a father by lying about my fertility status. He asked for space when he stormed out, so I haven't reached out to him. I do love him, but I'm starting to have serious second thoughts given his family's reactions. I realize now that we should have talked about this before, but am I the asshole for how I handled the situation? I don't think you're an asshole for how you've handled this one. I think he's just an idiot and didn't probably realize what ostensibly sterile means. Also, his family are dickheads for saying that you're beneath him, when by every metric, you're so obviously above him. That's not me being biased, that's facts no printer, given what you've said. This family is Delulu, and perhaps taking some time to think about this is the Salulu. I'm saying ostensibly not the asshole for this one, and now I'm gonna throw this one to the comments. In the comments, ThrowTheDough1 says, Info. How in the world did this never come up again in the 3 years of dating? Do people not talk about having kids, future goals, etc.? OP says, I never brought it up because I thought that it was already established. We met on Tinder, and it was the second line in my profile. Further down on my profile, I mentioned that I don't really like the texture of tomatoes, and he brought it up a few times without me saying anything aside from it being on my profile. Plus, our first date, he asked some good clarification questions about my profile, implying to me that he had read it all. I guess I made the bad assumption that since he didn't bring it up, it wasn't an issue. I mean, you did bring it up, before you even spoke to him. Child-free and infertile is not ambiguous. It's crystal clear, and it certainly wasn't hidden in the fine print if it was the second line of your profile. He's acting like a nut job. I agree, OP is not the asshole, but to someone not familiar with the child-free community, this just sounds like someone who doesn't have kids and hasn't been able to conceive naturally, rather than someone who doesn't want kids and has actively sought infertility as a result. I agree OP's fiancé should have brought this up at some point in the past 3 years, given that he'd read the rest of the profile though. Lol, not the asshole. I mean, this probably should have been a conversation before y'all got engaged, and I'm genuinely surprised it never came up again, but if dude can't read, and he was referencing other things on your profile, that's on him. Although this is probably going to end your relationship. Just pointing out that it's probably going to be a deal breaker for the both of you, so it's probably a good idea to get your affairs in order. Probably. Did I mention probably? My best guess is that he was matching with multiple women on Tinder and mixed up their profiles in his mind. Still on him for not having that conversation earlier, of course. Ah yes, the swipe right, don't give up the fight tactic. Not the asshole. Wanting kids is not the default setting for a woman. He assumed that wanting kids was automatically a part of your relationship without ever telling you that. You addressed it in your profile specifically to avoid that mindset. This exactly. That's 100% on him. Men can't just assume women wanting kids is the default. Update. So my fiancé came home this morning and I asked him if he wanted to talk. He said there was nothing left to talk about. I asked him if he wanted the ring back, and he got angry. I had never seen him like this, and I tried to speak calmly to him, but he was just yelling about how I was giving up and wouldn't even talk to him. I reminded him that I'd asked if he wanted to go and talk, and he said no, to which he responded that he didn't think I'd go all crazy over a disagreement. This was a huge wake-up call for me. I asked him why he'd never brought up kids beforehand, and he said he knew that I would get all weird about it. I tried to get him to clarify, but he just kept saying he couldn't talk to me when I was like this. I swear I never raised my voice and tried to speak calmly the entire time. Unlike me, I love going crazy. I told him I can't have kids, nor do I want any. I don't want to give birth. That seems like a deal breaker for him and his family. He said his family had nothing to do with this, and I asked why he'd told them then. He said because he was hoping they would talk some sense into me. I told him I was ending the relationship and staying with my dad for the time being. This didn't go over well. I'm still kinda shaking. As I was leaving, I asked him how long he's wanted kids, and he admitted he never thought about it, but he knew that I didn't want any, but now that we're engaged, it just wasn't about me. He had a say in children. I told him I physically could not get pregnant without IVF, and asked him how he expected that to work. He responded that I didn't know what I was talking about. I left after that because I just didn't have the energy to try and convince him, and I didn't want to further agitate him. When I told my dad everything, he was furious. Apparently when my fiancé spoke to him about proposing, he did not ask permission. Both my dad and I are opposed to that tradition, just basically letting my dad know his plans. My dad asked him if he was okay never having kids as I'd had my tubes removed. My dad says he specifically brought up my surgery and the impossibility of natural pregnancy. My fiancé told my dad that it'd always be my decision. I'm thankful this happened before we started any of the wedding planning, but it feels like I swallowed a boulder. I know I need to be more adamant in the future about my stance on kids, and I promise I will have these discussions with future partners openly and from the start. I blocked his family from messaging me after they added me to a group message and started throwing Bible verses at me and saying that I'm a defective woman for not having kids. I don't have the energy right now to be petty, so I just blocked them. My dad is going to help me move my stuff for the next couple of days. I need to talk to the landlord and figure out the lease. I'm financially stable enough to pay most of the fees, I think, but I doubt my now ex-fiancé can afford the rent on his own. The only text I received from him has just said, "You'll regret this." I don't believe this is meant as a threat, but I'm being cautious just in case. Thank you for all the feedback. It was helpful to understand where I went wrong. This was my first long-term relationship, and I effed up a lot of the communication, but I know it's not just on me. I tend to be the kind of person that doesn't like to rehash things if I feel like we're on the same page, but with huge decisions like this, reiterating is necessary, and people are allowed to change their minds, which means rehashing is necessary in a healthy relationship. In the comments, SnakeBiteX says, "Maybe I've spent too much time on Reddit, but I can't help but wonder if there's something else to this. Like if he cheated on OP and decided to pick a fight over this to make her look like the bad guy so that his family won't question a new woman in his life. Like, I just can't wrap my head around how he's had explicit conversations with people about OP not having kids, and then suddenly acting like he doesn't understand basic biology and calling OP a liar. It's very possible that he's just that dumb, but part of me wonders if he did something that made him do all of this out of guilt. Either way, sounds like it happened for the best now, so OP isn't tied to someone so unhinged." Wait, OP's dad brought up the fallopian tube removal to the fiancé before he proposed? Did fiancé spontaneously forget this? Or I'm wondering if the fiancé isn't clear on that piece of biology/mechanic for pregnancy. I'm also genuinely confused on the fact he basically tried to mansplain to her about the surgery she had before she ever met him. She literally told him she can't get pregnant without IVF, and he flat out said she didn't know what she was talking about? Like, what? I doubt the fiancé has any idea of female anatomy beyond where he sticks his dick. And when she's like, "I literally cannot naturally conceive," he's like, "You don't know what you're talking about." Dude, there is no bridge over the abyss. The eggs can never escape. Right? The whole family still seems to think she can have kids, but just doesn't want to. She is literally physically incapable of getting pregnant. How did none of them seem to understand that? Just physically incapable of getting pregnant naturally, she can get an embryo implanted with IVF, which, where I live, costs like 30 grand and up, which this bozo of an ex doesn't seem to have. I would bet money that her boyfriend thought her being child-free was a phase and that he could change her, or even force her to have kids. That one line about how them now being engaged means he has a say in her life is super telling. OP may not see it now, but she is super lucky she got away from such a manipulative and controlling person who was apparently uneducated on top of it all, if he thought his dick was strong enough to reverse her surgery. The man proposed to a sterilized woman, knowing she was sterilized, and then acted like she was currently deciding to be sterilized next week and taking his choice away from him, like she bait and switched him. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I'm going to guess it's a lot. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one after these 2 bloopers. They're not me laughing. I've provided context as to why I made the quips and jokes. I just feel like they're going to ruin the flow of the episode, and some people that don't understand the references would be pissed off that I'm making these jokes. There's your context. Never taking me seriously, and it was just like a switch flipped in that moment. I stopped caring.
And then something snapped. Something inside me. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about being better than Kakarot. I didn't care about being a Super Saiyan.
And then suddenly acting like he doesn't understand basic biology and calling OP a liar. Watch out, OP, he might give your child fetal alcohol syndrome. Because if he really doesn't understand basic biology, that just seems like the natural progression of things.